Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Politics Relaxed. We're having a very exciting evening. Sajid Javid resigned, Rishi Sunak resigned, some more junior ministers and other people around the Prime Minister have resigned as well. Instant reaction from everyone.
Well, I think what a day, what a time in
Right.
British politics. We've been waiting for this for ages. I told you literally just a few minutes before that first resignation. It was totally unscripted. I said, when will one cabinet minister, one high-profile cabinet minister, have the guts and, for want of a better word, the balls to resign? And now we've got it. We've got Sajid, then the Chancellor. It's all coming apart. And one thing I would like to note, actually, is that both Sajid Javid and Rishi Sunak both noted integrity as one of their main reasons for resigning. That although Boris Johnson, they say he had a lot of victories and did a lot of things good, they cannot ignore the will of the British public in making sure that integrity is a main part of what the government must do and be, and just it has to be a primary part of the government's existence, and that's why both of them have finally come out today, and that's good. It's looking good for the future.
I would say I think that the government has a legislative future.
Really?
I'm deeply concerned about what we've seen over the last few days. I cannot quite get my head around the fact that the line has been changed 3 or 4 times now. And that indicates to me only one thing, which is that one or multiple of the lines have been untrue.
But
to me as a citizen of the UK, what that leaves me feeling is as though we have been told untruths by our government, which is deeply concerning. Actually, I want to shorten actually the blame here and direct it solely to the Prime Minister, not the government. I think that it's unfair to blame the government. Obviously, the PM is the leader of the government, but these lines have come out of Number 10. And the categorical assurances that they have provided to ministers before sending them out onto the media have clearly proven to be untrue.
Yeah.
And that is deeply concerning. And if I were a minister who had been sent out, which perhaps luckily for the country I'm not, I would be deeply concerned by the fact, and I would be furious slightly about this fact that I would have been sent out to deliver a line that has been proven untrue. So I think that the PM has got to consider his position now. Clearly, ministers are not going to take this any longer. Sunak and Javid, I think, are right to follow their conscience in this matter, and I would expect that some will probably follow.
I don't know why you're so surprised that they're changing their line, they're lying, and they're wheeling out more ministers to lie for them, because we've seen it before. Partygate, it was the exact same. They changed their line so many times. They sent out ministers to lie for them, and they then changed their story. So if I was a minister, I'd be more like, what idiot am I for staying in the current cabinet after being forced to lie for the Prime Minister multiple times? So by this point, if you haven't sussed out what the Prime Minister is, he's an absolute liar. He's a charlatan, and he shouldn't be anywhere near the position he is. If you're still in cabinet and supporting him, then I'd say it's your own fault.
I don't blame people who want to remain in post in cabinet, because cabinet is not about supporting a leader. Cabinet is about delivering legislation that is going to make an impact on people's lives in order to protect and enhance social welfare. That is their jobs. And
but it's also their job to defend the. It's also their job to defend the government. That's what you sign up to when you say I'm going to be a cabinet.
Yeah,
you say I'm going to stand by this government no matter what.
Yeah,
and standing by this government now would be an utterly stupid thing to do.
Of course, I mean, you've just defined collective ministerial responsibility, and that is exactly what Rishi Sunak and Sajid Javid have clearly determined today that they can no longer sign up to. And that's why it's right that they've resigned if they feel that their conscience means they can no longer support the Prime Minister as leader of the government. But for those who feel comfortable with doing so and want to get on with delivering legislation, I can't oppose that.
Well, I mean, if I'll put my head in here, I'm just surprised that the specific, like that the Pincher incident was the specific catalyst for this whole thing. It's not exactly been the biggest news story of the past month, and you know, of the many Tory scandals that there've been, I mean, you'd have thought Partygate would be much more of an impetus, although I suppose that that was what the confidence vote was all about, and that was their chance, even though they voted for him. And then this is just another. I guess this is the final straw for them. I don't understand why their conscience has failed now out instead of before.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think what a lot of people have been saying is it's death by 1,000 cuts, and it very much is. You've had story upon story upon story upon story that further pushes Boris Johnson further down in people's eyes, and it's another story among a lot of stories that would have killed any other prime minister, and you just have to hope that this one does finally kill him, not metaphorically, obviously.
I don't know, will he resign? I mean, he's always said he's going to carry on until 2024, but I think the key thing is...
Wasn't it 2035, wasn't it? He said the other day.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, he's really looking to
longer than Thatcher. 1922 committee. That's going to be key. I think you're going to have a lot of people wanting them to replace.
He doesn't exactly have the support there.
That's what they're going to do. They're going to have a lot of people calling for Graham Brady to reduce that 1 year time limit to get it done again. And you're going to have a lot more people now that everyone knows that he's under the cosh properly. I mean, we always say he's under the cosh properly, but this looks to be a bit more than last time.
A bit more under the cosh. So he's like,
yeah.
I mean, he really is he literally is a zombie. He's like, oh, I've already been killed 5 times, but I'll keep on going. And how many more? Surely it's it, right? I say that more out of desperation at this point than anything else.
So for a start, I mean, I'm not an expert in the constitution of the 1922 committee, but my anticipation would be that if there were a simple majority in favour of changing the rules to hold another vote of confidence earlier than in the 1 year gap, then I think that Sir Graham Brady would certainly have to consider that. And I think that that's probably a reasonable choice. I mean, Sajid, Javid and Rishi Sunak on the back benches is probably quite a scary thought for the PM. They are two people who naturally are big beasts.
Some ounce of like skill in the whole of the cabinet. Some ounce is probably the right way of putting it, because they don't have full competence, but they have some skill, and he's lost them, and now we're looking at what Nadine Dorries as health secretary, and Simon Clarke as chancellor, or somebody else. We don't know, but I mean, who do we think is going to be? Nadine Dorries as health secretary. But I think I need to go and bleach my mouth out now after saying that.
Nadine Dorries and chancellor. Let's go for Dorries for chancellor.
Oh, dearie me.
It's got to be.
And then Fabricant as culture. Fabricant.
God, no, don't even.
I mean, he's got a lot of culture, that guy.
I think that Nadine Dorries, I've always said Nadine Dorries is she should be nowhere near cabinet. A terrible appointment in the first place from the Prime Minister. I don't think that she should be even a junior minister, as she was for many years.
What about
she's certainly nowhere near competent or able enough to fill the role of health secretary, and as chancellor is unthinkable. That won't happen. So I mean, we'll see. Look, as I said, 2 big beasts are gone, big shoes to fill. I don't really see any big feet right now that are going to fill those shoes.
I mean, I heard Matt Hancock was ironing out his turtleneck sweater, ready to come back as health secretary any minute now. I mean, the crypto market's on the downturn. So he's probably a little bit worried about his finances currently, and a nice cabinet job could possibly secure that for him.
Yeah, do you think that's going to be a snap election? I mean,
that would be fun, wouldn't it? We've already had all the drama in the world today. Can you imagine another election? Not another one.
No, there won't be, and there won't be a snap election. The PM would be crazy.
Oh yeah, I suppose he's the one who.
Of course.
Well, we've got some breaking news. We've got another PPS who's just resigned. Actually, two. Rajan's just told me. Jonathan Gullis, who's resigned, as well as Sakib Bhatti. I've never heard of this guy, but he's a PPS. So it seems you'll know who he is. And Jonathan Gullis is a massive one because he's almost the visual representation in Parliament of Boris Johnson still having some level of support. And the fact that the dopiest man in possibly in politics, but in Parliament for sure, has come out against Boris Johnson shows that it's done.
Well, I very much like Jonathan Gullis, actually.
I bet you do.
Himself very well. And I think actually he's a visual representation of a red wall conservative. And the fact that he has withdrawn his support from Boris Johnson is therefore particularly consequential because these are, as we know, the key seats Boris Johnson has to keep hold of. So if people want to do the same in the north, Boris Johnson's definitely going to be in trouble.
I mean, that one, Jonathan Gullis, really is a shock, I think, for the Prime Minister. I mean, that is.
Well, as I said, he holds himself well. That means I think that he has a good conscience, and clearly he, like I said earlier, is another one who is determined he cannot uphold the convention of ministerial responsibility. So I mean, it's fair enough.
I'm interested to talk about the Tory leadership contest because it seems inevitable now that is going to happen. Will Dominic Raab be throwing his name into the hat?
I think that he's actually ruled himself out a couple of times in the last few months now.
That's what they all say.
Which is rational.
His job depends on Johnson.
It's rational because he doesn't believe that there will be a leadership election anytime soon.
Which now seems pretty irrational considering the developments of the last 24 hours.
I think that he's very focused on delivering important legislation on justice and solving the battles.
He's not going to be able to do that, is he? Because nobody else is giving him a cabinet job. It's like a bit. I think it's.
Oh no, I think he's focused on doing that under Boris Johnson.
But how long do you think Boris Johnson's got left then?
Oh gosh, that's the question.
It's not hard.
I've tried to answer this so many times over the last year. It's unbelievable. But if I'm honest, unless there are more, it's just dependent on the situation come the end of the week. If there are more resignations from cabinet, I don't see him lasting another couple of months. If not, I think that he can survive these two losses today, as massive as they are, and he could well survive, dependent on how many more stuff-ups there are until the next election.
I mean, I think it's fancy land, the fact that you think he'll survive after this. And then it comes after a lot of time. I mean, I kind of feel stupid saying that because I probably said that 4 or 5 times in the last few months. But I still think he doesn't. I don't think he has 2 months in him. I think is my definitive answer. But we were talking about leadership. Actually, Raja, make your point, and then we talk about leadership.
One thing I was going to say is that in terms of Johnson actually resigning, what do you think the actual mechanism of that will it be? I mean, will he resign? Because I don't think he will.
No, 1922. It'll be
1922. Do you reckon?
Yeah,
that's the only option.
What would you think about a full House of Commons vote of no confidence? perhaps.
That's in the government, and I think that Tory MPs actually continue to have confidence in the government. And I know certainly if there were a vote of no confidence in the government, I would vote in favour of the government, because I do believe in the government's overall agenda and the direction that they're taking the country in.
I mean, but they're not going to be. I said this a few weeks ago about after the no confidence vote, but I'll say it again. It's the government are not as you say they're laser focused on delivering for the country. What they're actually laser focused on, and what we've seen from today, is keeping the prime minister in his post, because otherwise he's going to go. No other prime minister would be able to survive this. And we see again the mechanism of number 10 coming in to try and save Boris Johnson. And once again, it seems to have failed because people are very unhappy with the prime minister. So I just don't see how you can have confidence in the government. They won't be delivering anytime soon. The only thing they'll be delivering on is keeping Boris Johnson in power.
They will continue to deliver. It's a big blow, and I don't support the prime minister as a leader, but I do support the government in their legislating. And I think they'll continue to do it.
Anybody else got any thoughts on leadership? Who's the next prime minister?
Oh, there's still no clear candidates from within the Conservative Party, despite what Jeremy Hunt would like you to do. I'd like an election soon. That'd be very interesting. But I think it's going to be a slow burn out into, I don't know. I have no idea.
I think there's obviously people like Penny Mordaunt, Ben Wallace inside the cabinet who are maybe the only two people, and maybe if we count Sajid, Javid in that, possibly, because people now think he's principled, which, I mean, joining this government at the time he did, I can't say he is very principled. But you got those three. I think you've got the kind of outside the cabinet. You've got Tom Tugendhat, possibly. You've got Jeremy Hunt, possibly. Anyone else? That's who would. No.
Theresa May.
Theresa May. That would be Hollywood. Hollywood, I think, is the right word. If that
Yeah.
I think that's probably the list that it'll come down to. I think someone in that list is my best bet, although my best bet is not a very good one. And thank you very much for turning up, especially at this on the late notice. So I appreciate that. Thank you to you for watching. What you should go and do now is click on our channel or click right here, where I don't know where it's going to be, and watch the Neil Kinnock interview, because nobody watched it. It's made me really sad. So please go and watch it right now.
I watched it.
Thanks, Cameron. I really appreciate that.